somebody's in big trouble. Because we just got even more insane news updates and leaks for Avengers Doomsday that I promise you is really gonna shock you. I'm talking leaked audio of Avengers Doomsday, some crazy story details that hint at one major character's death, some very interesting quotes from the Russo brothers, Chris Hemsworth, and a few more. The potential return of some familiar faces, Dr. Doom's beef with Captain America, and so much more. And you know me, if I get a little bit of crumbs, I'm gonna make a 5-star meal. Cause either way, me and you know what we gotta do, we gotta talk about it. And boom! Man, you know what? Doom! You looking for this? So today, Disney held its Destination D23 event, which is different than D23. I've been seeing a lot of people confused by that, but it's a separate event from D23 where they still hype up future projects coming out. And with that, the Russo brothers themselves gave us little hints and teases of the flavors we can expect from Avengers Doomsday. And not only that, our first official hype video for the movie. Now, no one was able to get official footage of the film, but they did get the audio. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Roll the damn tape.
We can put together the greatest team ever. If we can't see the good in each other, we've already lost the fight.
Now is our time to strike.
Will I be there when the Avengers need me? Absolutely.
We speak the from now on.
That pressure and that responsibility. I'll have that too.
This has the makings of a king that can bring light from the darkness.
Raising things to the ground is easy. Trying to fix what's broken is hard. The forces in this world force you into human life. Believe that a war is coming. Anything happens, we'll take care of it.
Today, we are your friends. We will protect you.
Obviously, I don't think any of those quotes are new. They are old quotes that are pulled from the older films for all of our main characters that are going to be in Avengers Doomsday. But the interesting thing about that is it does kind of speak to the fact that these are all of our main characters for Avengers Doomsday. But I think we ain't done yet because people in attendance also got this video from the set of Avengers Doomsday featuring both the Russo brothers. So it's nice to know that Anthony Russo is still alive. But also Paul Rudd, who plays Scott Lang Ant-Man. All three of them gave some very interesting quotes. Starting off with what the Russo brothers had to say, because it wasn't really a lot. It was just kind of to hype up the movie itself. But they said that Avengers Doomsday, easily the biggest movie that they've ever done, without a doubt. I gotta be honest, that's high praise coming from the guys who made Infinity War and Endgame. They're telling me they're gonna be bigger than that? Yes, and they has to be too. Because we ain't just talking about the culmination of 10 years of Marvel Cinematic Universe, we're talking about the culmination of 30 years of Marvel in cinema in general. And with that, the Russo brothers also teased that they're bringing together many of our favorite heroes face to face their greatest threats. How many times can you say face? A face without a face too. A man with a mangled face, a Tony Stark face, Dr. Doom, which is, you know, pretty self-explanatory. And Paul Rudd also shared a very touching message as well, saying, "We're surrounded by jaw-dropping sets and some truly incredible talent, many of who you just saw teased in that great video. Bringing this story to the big screen means the world to us, and we couldn't do it without your support." I mean, how can you just not love Paul Rudd? If anything happens to him in this movie, I'm in your walls, Kevin Feige. And speaking of Paul Rudd, this leads me to my next bit of news from industry insider Daniel RPK. He's reporting that Paul Rudd, Scott Lang Ant-Man, plays a very important role in Avengers Doomsday. Now, as for what that role could be, I have a couple of ideas, and I'm letting you know right now, none of them end well. Now, obviously, this could be me reading into it a little bit more, but with that report, on top of the fact that they brought Paul Rudd out to speak to everyone in the audience, it feels like they're kind of giving him like a final little hoorah. Now, obviously, it could just be the fact that Paul Rudd's such a great fucking guy and he would love to do this for the Russo brothers if they asked him. But I'm letting you know right now, Scott's story is basically almost wrapped up. They faked this out with those Quantumania trailers, and even in Quantumania itself, I thought he was going to get packed up there. Because I'm not going to hold you. Once you become a dad in the MCU, the target is on your back. And Aubrey Plaza's Lady Death is just licking her lips at Scott Lang, who was introduced as a fucking father. And all of these near-death experiences, she's fucking like, oh, gotta be quicker than that. I'm gonna get him this time, though. But just think what that would do to Cassie, what that would do to Hope, both of who haven't been confirmed for Avengers Doomsday. But just imagine Cassie having to relive the death of her father because she thought he was dead for 5 years already. Not my peanut, no. This might just end up being one of the most tragic father-daughter duos in all of the MCU. Now, Scott actually does die at the hands of Jack of Hearts in the Avengers Disassembled run, but I think another crazy option, instead of Scott being the one that dies, is what if fucking Cassie dies? Just like she does in Children's Crusade at the hands of who? Doom! Scott, I'm sorry Victor killed your daughter. She gets 5 big dooms. Doom. I mean, if they are adapting elements of Children's Crusade into Avengers Doomsday, this could stick and it would hoit. But another option could be him just playing the Hank Pym role from the Secret Wars run, where Hank Pym is the one who travels throughout the multiverse to try to figure out what's going on with these incursions and finds the Beyonders. So essentially, he could have basically like the same role he had in Endgame, even though it would be kind of derivative. But to use his words, not mine, anytime the Avengers need him, he'll be there. So I'm just hoping these two make like the Bee Gees and stay alive. All right, but this next bit of news is kind of fucking crazy if true, so I'm gonna give you guys a chance to scroll away, like this video, come back after you've seen Doomsday. But there's an alleged set photo hovering around the internet right now that reveals something very major to the plot of Doomsday, so I'm gonna be talking about it, but if you don't want to see it, get out of here now. That's your final warning. We're moving on. Now, according to this Twitter user, they took pictures of swings and slides outside the house, the set of the house of Peggy and Steve from the end of Avengers Endgame. So one, not only does this kind of confirm those rumors and speculation that Dr. Doom is going to be going after Captain America because he's the one who caused the incursions for going back in time in Endgame, and also the fact that the Chris Evans and Haley Atwell that we see is most likely this version, but they also might have a kid or kids. Huh? What'd you say? That's right, I did not stutter. Now, this could just be nothing, but if it is something, would Marvel Studios introduce an adaptation of James Rogers? Well, he's technically the son of Captain America and Black Widow from an alternate timeline, because that would explain why she's actually able to have kids. I mean, with the amount of sexual tension between them and Winter Soldier, with them just being friends, she's just my friend though. I feel like this was them planting the seeds towards an eventual introduction to James Rogers some way, somehow. And if he is introduced, he most likely has powers thanks to the fact that Steve Rogers still has a super soldier serum, and also just because we saw Peggy Carter here doesn't mean that she ain't Captain Carter. So if they do introduce this ginger cool mother, he probably be strong as shit. And if Dr. Doom, played by Robert Downey Jr., looks like Tony Stark, pulling up to Steve Rogers' house with his wife and son, that would be a perfect parallel to when Captain America and a few of the other Avengers went to his log cabin house with his wife and daughter and asked him to basically give all of that shit up. Oh my god, hold on, his writing is fire. Hold on, you know something I just realized about the log cabin house? Has anyone else pointed this out? Did he go to a log cabin house because of the log scene from Avengers Age of Ultron? I mean, his pile definitely got enough logs to make a house. I'm just saying. But moving on to some interesting Chris Hemsworth quotes. He had this to say about returning as Thor in Doomsday. When we parted ways in the last film, we didn't know if we were... Hold on, let me try to do this as Thor's voice. When we parted ways on the last film, we didn't know if we were going to be doing this again, and here we are. Some of the old crew like myself, and then a lot of new folks are coming in. It's wild. Remind me to never do that again. But then he also followed that up with if we're actually going to get a Thor 5. And to that he said, I don't know, we'll see where Doomsday goes. We're sort of unpacking all of that as we speak and figuring out where each of these characters go. And my brother in Christ, we need a redemption arc after the abomination that was Thor Love and Thunder. That is, of course, if Thor doesn't die in Avengers Doomsday, because, I mean, he could end up dying in Doomsday and coming back in Secret Wars anyway. We can get the core Thor, the Thor core. But nah, bro, we need a fucking Thor 5 directed by George Miller. Give us Beta Ray Bill. Fucking, I don't even care who he's fighting, bro. Just get him in there. I actually think I made a video explaining what I would like to see in Thor 5, so check that out. We also got the potential return of a very familiar face. When Haley Steinfeld was asked if she could potentially be returning as Kate Bishop's Hawkeye in Avengers Doomsday, all she had to say was this. I'm gonna have to say that I can't say anything. I'm not the werewolf. Haley, you don't get the fuck out of my face. Light up, you lying. I got a feeling that we're gonna see Kate Bishop some way, somehow in Doomsday, whether that be a post-credit scene or a small scene, because we haven't seen her since the Marvel's post-credit scene, where Kamala Khan doing her best Nick Fury impression to convince her to join the Young Avengers. But the real reason I want her back is because Yelena's coming back, and I need this dynamic duo again. If I was sandwiched between these two in an elevator, I would ascend to heaven, to be real. Would that also mean we get Jeremy Renner back as Hawkeye? Because he's not confirmed either. Is he retired again? Again? These leaked concept arts become more and more interesting and intriguing by the day. Because what do you mean we got Star-Lord hanging out with these Young Avengers? And if it ain't white, it ain't right vision. Either way, I got a feeling we're gonna see her sooner than later. Finally, we have some very interesting comments from, of course, a person named Alan Cumming. All he had to say was Avengers Doomsday is like a superhero orgy. We got one of those. It's called Hero-gasm, Alan. But that's all the new news and updates we got about Avengers Doomsday. My thoughts, theories, and opinions. Let me know what you think about all of this down in the comments below. And as always, like and follow for more.